Hello, and welcome to another little recording from esoterichaven.com. And I just wanted to blither on basically about tarot cards again, except this time I wanted to touch on a few different subjects, some of them being, whether or not to use the book for interpretations, how to interpret the cards, so to speak. And what else? I wanted to talk about the right questions to ask, and I wanted to talk about some ethics as far as tarot cards go, and I just wanted to talk about tarot cards in general for a little bit, for about 10 minutes or so, or something like that. Anyways, so to start off, I just wanted to say that, it's, you're not going to like this answer. Again, it's really up to you whether you want to go from total intuition or if you want to go from total book or do a modge podge of both. If you want to do, both of them, it's totally cool. Or if what works for you is take something from the book, then take something from your intuition, and then maybe pluck a word out of the definition here and there, and that inspires you to springboard onto your intuition, and it inspires you, and so on and so forth. Then if that works for you, then that works for you. I mean, that's kind of how I do it. I memorize the definitions from the books that I feel that I've cross-referenced. And here's another tip: always cross-reference your definitions, because, just with the Rider-Waite tarot deck, I've read many books on the Rider-Waite tarot deck, and you will find that each book differs from definition to definition. The best definition comes from the definition, in my opinion, you glean from the cards itself, but that's just my personal opinion. Um, Definitions in the book are just as valid. They are, though, just the person's personal opinion of what the tarot card means to them. That's all the book definitions are, basically, if you really want to boil it down. Um, they don't really have a standard set, this is what this card means. I mean, they have general words like death always means change, the Three of Swords always means sorrow, um, stuff like that, in, universal meanings, so to speak. But then people go off on tangents, well, it could be this with that card, or it could be this with that card, or in conjunction with this or that, or if you could take it on this slant, or if it's portrayed this way in this deck and not so much in this deck, or this deck takes a fluffier view, or deck takes a darker view. It all also depends on the deck. Um, you know, like I said, like the difference between Crowley and the Rider-Waite deck in the other video. With the Nine of Swords, you could see the blood dripping on the one part of the Crowley deck, and then, in the Rider-Waite deck, it was totally different. Um, so, it's rather interesting to compare decks and stuff like that. Um, but anyways, on to the next set. So, asking the right questions is important for your reading. It is probably the most important thing you're going to do to set up the proper way to do a reading. You can't do a reading if you don't ask the right questions. Okay? If you ask a wishy-washy question or a yes or no question, your tarot cards are not going to read for you at all. Not even a little bit. Okay, so anyways, let me take a little sippy sip of water. You can tell I'm a little obsessed with water, as should you drink 8 cups of water a day. Well, you don't have to, but you should. Anyways, um, so, like I was saying, it's important to ask open-ended questions, and it's important to keep it on the eye. Always keep it on the eye. Don't ask little questions like, what is Sally's life like? Or what is Richard's life like? Or what is Richard's love life look like when you're like dating Richard and you want to make sure he's not cheating on you or something like that, and you want to see what his love life is like, or you want to spy on his life or whatever. It's none of your business. And the cards may tell you little bits and pieces. They may not tell you. They may give you gobbledygook. They may actually answer your question. But the more you go down the darker path, the more you will come up against the possibility of having your intuition taken from you. It has happened to people. Um, I have known people who have abused the card reading abilities, and have had their abilities taken away from them. Um, you know, I've a fringe on that myself with asking too many of the same questions or types of questions, or going down a darker path when I've flipped out about boyfriends or whatever. Hey, everybody's human. It happens. You know, so I know from personal experience, it can happen. Um, so, I unfortunately have never lost the ability, but, I could feel the cards telling me in my readings that they didn't want to talk about the subject anymore. And they made it blatantly clear. They were like, not going to talk about this subject anymore. So, you can only harp on a subject so many times. That's another thing. You can only ask a question so many times, so many ways. Don't ask a question more than once. If you ask about your life for a 3-month reading, how will my life be for the next 3 months? Don't ask it again for the next 3 months. If you ask for the next 6 months, don't ask it again within the 6-month time frame. Try and remember. Most important thing you need to learn about tarot is keep a journal. Write down the cards, the placement of the cards, the layout that you did. Um, Let me see if I have my book just lying around here. I don't. But, oh wait, I do have a sample reading in here, just to show you what it would look like if you were to write it down real quick. See, something like this. So, that's what it would look like. Keep a tarot journal, and, write down the date, the time, um, how you were feeling before the reading, how you were feeling after the reading. What deck you use is very important in case you have multiple decks. If you only have one deck, then you don't need to write down what deck you're using. It's good to know for future reference for when you do get other decks, just to notate, Rider Waite, RW, whatever. Um, like you see here in this example, let me pull it out again out of this book. I use the Celtic cross spread, and I like to write it down, and I'll put it back far enough so that my cards are a little, I write it all down, I abbreviate, I, you know, and then I write the whole thing down, and then when I open it up a little bit too much. Bella will talk about that too. Sometimes I do things that are naughty. Um, okay, so, anyways, but, do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, what more can you say other than, I'm human? But, I do keep a book, several books, actually. I have several books, and, whichever one is handy, I just, yep, write it down, date. I try to keep the date on it. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes for ambiguousness, depending upon the question, I don't write down the date, but that's just my paranoia. Maybe I just think, whatever. Just in case somebody reads it or something. Like anyone really cares or could read my handwriting anyways. But anyways, I digress. Um, so, real quick, just to wrap it up, ask open-ended questions. Um, ask non-yes or no questions. They have to be, what will my life be like for the next 3 months? Keep it to the 3-month range. That generally tends to be the best reading you will get. Um, It's better than 6 months. You can do 6 months, but 6 months can be a little muddled. Um, Keep it to what will my life be like for the next 3 months? What will my love life be like for the next 3 months? What will my financial situation be like? What will my health be like? Stuff like that, and you'll be all good. You can ask spiritual questions. What is my connection to God? A fun one is, what is the nature of my relationship to somebody? Try that one out. I've done that, and that is a fabulous question to ask. And I've gotten great results with that one. And the next little blur I'm going to do is rules and regulations of the tarot cards, and stuff like, how many times can don't ask, too many questions, or blah blah blah. How many times can I open it up? Da 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 da. So on and so forth. Just some of the more inner points and rules and regulations and stuff like that. So happy divining.